I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a
Banter
horse,
for the
I'm ready
people,
for
37 and 37. I believe this is episode 4. The most exciting guest that I have, my lovely wife, Ielaf, the change reaction, Ielaf Stead. Isn't it funny that I still think Ielaf Stead.
Ielaf Altoma said.
Did you actually switch the middle though?
The middle is now Altoma.
Oh, you did it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is a series where I talk to the people in my life, 37 people that have just influenced me positively, whether it's close or from afar, to be able to help build what Purple Banter is today and to really aspire to be like what we are accountable to and then what we kind of strive for in the future. We've never been able to have this conversation where we talk really about what you've done in the nonprofit world. We do a Purple Politics segment every once in a while when weird things show up.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get more involved once political controversy kind of heats up again. But it's still been heating up. We've had a baby in the last 7 months. So.
Yeah, just,
Yep, but
Gave
we've
birth to
built
a
this
whole
new
life,
studio
so.
and all these things.
Took a little pause.
Mm-hmm.
We're back in it, though. We're back.
So where do we start?
Well, I just want to say, like, the experience of, like, becoming a mother and, like, what that does to you, like, is a miracle. Like, it just, like, changes the way you look at the world completely.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to, like, be a mother first and foremost before all the work I do is, like, just the biggest blessing. And we made a cute baby.
Well, I think it is fun what we've been able to do because we definitely met in a time where we were like absorbing ourselves in all different communities, whether it was our friend groups, whether it was groups that we were supporting through our nonprofit Love Wins. But to be able to like focus on ourselves in a way that doesn't feel selfish by focusing on our little baby.
Yeah.
That's been fun.
It's been so different than what I'm used to because I feel like I've always been in the space of like giving back, helping, volunteering, like doing the most.
Yeah.
And I love it. That's like my passion and that still is my passion, right? But I think having a child and becoming a mother, I don't feel guilty or bad about like pausing and being selfish for her. And just that brain switch of like your priorities, it's a big change.
Yeah.
Right. But I think it's the biggest blessing, and I do love the work I do. I still have these passions. I still want to create impact in the things I do outside of being a mother. But at the end of the day, like being Khaleesi's mom is the most important thing to me.
Right. And like, over the last few months, we've had to fully really focus on her primarily, during your like sabbatical for work, as I kind of just paused as much as I possibly could in order to focus on you and baby. But then you do get to this spot where baby's starting to grow up. We're starting to get in normal habits of life. And we need to also turn around and be able to create something that like our child will be proud of.
I want to leave this world a better place for her.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, it definitely has lit more of a fire under me to say, like, how can I create the world that she deserves to live in?
Right. And, just re-engaging in the communities that we've already built.
Yeah.
That we've already been a part of.
Like, hey, I'm back.
Yeah. And then now being able to reintroduce her to that is just like, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
But let's step back and talk about all the things that you've really done within your life to get to where you are, like on a career standpoint, within the communities that you impact. The work that you're doing with Change Reaction, I think, is really amazing. What is it that Change Reaction really aspires to be in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're one of the early members on the team. The team continues to build, but at the same time, the team is still very small
Mm-hmm.
relative to its impact.
Well, first I want to just give some like context to like how I got here and what is it that change reaction does, right? But how did I get to the change reaction?
Mm-hmm.
And I always come back to thinking about my story, from refugee to Ivy League, from Baghdad to Harvard, you know, all those obstacles and challenges that I experienced just navigating life, higher education, career without, support from the family, um, just allowed me the opportunity to meet so many other people and mentors and peers that just helped me along the way, right? To get to the point I'm at today. Um, and I think that like overcoming those challenges and like then having these beautiful experiences and people in my life that outweighed those challenges,
Mm-hmm.
right? That share people that shared knowledge and resources and gave me that hand up, has always instilled in me this desire to want to do the same for others, to turn around and share the same knowledge that has impacted me, that has given me the ability to live this life that I love, right? With financial stability. Uh, Everyone deserves that.
Yeah.
That I wake up every single day loving what I do, and I want that for other people. And so that's how, it kind of came to change reaction, right? Of just serving in Watts. This is
Mm-hmm.
after I lost my job during the pandemic at Cal State Dominguez Hills. And, I think at that moment I was like, oh, this is like the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. I love this job. And, kind of figuring out, where do I fit in? Like, how can we serve? And, I think this really helped strengthen our relationship, right?
Yeah.
Just being able to serve together and being able to kind of get through the pandemic together and not hate each other. Right? I feel like our love just grew, and getting to serve together in Watts, and then just being able to, again, pour resources and knowledge into a space where it could help, um, and building those relationships with people in the community to say, how can I serve? Like, how can I show up
Yeah.
and help, individuals that need that support, right? And I believe that's what caught Change Reaction's eyes, right? When they met me and they wanted to bring me on to their team, it was like, oh, this person is a community builder. This person cares and is passionate about helping others.
Mm-hmm.
And man, they supercharged me,
Yeah.
right? Like, I have always wanted to have impact, and when I became a part of the Change Reaction, it was like someone just gave me the resources to be able to do the things I always dreamed of doing, right? Of really having that direct impact in ways that I just couldn't even imagine, right? So Change Reaction is a direct giving platform that, really is a generosity movement. I feel like it's all about generosity. Like, what happens when we just show generosity and I really feel like it's an act of love. Like, there's so much love in our organization, and it's just like pouring through this generous movement
Mm-hmm.
of helping take care of the hardworking people of the city. Helping provide emergency grants and opportunity grants, investing and believing in people that they can achieve the life that they desire if someone just believed in them, if someone just helped them out in a moment that they needed that support. And we get to do that every single day.
Yeah.
And it's just the biggest blessing.
What I think's interesting about Change Reaction is that the things that you're saying, actually, here is my wine over there too. Yeah. Love Wins Cup though.
Harvard.
Baby's sleeping. We're chilling.
Yeah.
We actually shot this previously. I will send within this. I will do a few reels of our baby episode. We basically try to do an episode while she probably should have been sleeping.
Yeah.
It was like right before bed.
She was not having it. She was like, not today. You think you're gonna do a podcast right now?
Mm-hmm.
Not today,
No.
CC.
Now, but what I think's so cool about the Change Reaction is all of the things that you are saying, which is like, we want to impact people's lives. We want to fill up their cup. we want to find them in a place of need and help them out of that. I would say most nonprofits have that in their heart, right? But I think that the Change Reaction has found a way to disrupt the space that people desire and actually create change in a quicker way. I can't, what is my dad always says Change Reaction is like changing lives at the speed of now or something like that, right? Why do you think the Change Reaction is so effective in the way that you do find people, understand their needs, and at least try to have an incremental space of an incremental change in their life that is positive?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we do this work in partnership with nonprofits, churches, and hospitals. And if it wasn't for those relationships, we wouldn't be able to do the things that we're doing at the scale.
Right.
Those relationships are critical. And I feel like it's like they're helping us have an impact and we're helping them make that impact, right? And so we partner with over 250 organizations, and their staff, who we call the change agents, are the people on the ground that have dedicated their lives to doing this work, right? To service up to others, to helping, whether they're social workers, case managers, pastors, doctors, teachers, counselors, right? They're doing this work because they care, and we are just giving them access to resources to actually get to say, yes, I can help you with that, instead of kind of, okay, let's go find and research the resources of what's available for you. Let's help you like fill out the applications. Let's wait 3 months to get a response, right? There's a lot of, again, caseworkers and social workers that are doing that work every day, that are like helping people access the different resources. And what makes us so different is that we have removed the bureaucratic BS that is in the way of getting the resources out to people, right? So what it is those social workers are writing an advocacy statement. They're telling us, they're telling the donors what that individual needs in that moment, rather than a structure that says, well, do they check these boxes off, right? Okay, well, if they check these boxes off, then they can qualify for this. Whereas we are very personable in how we do giving.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, there's someone reading that social worker's advocacy, that they're advocating, they're painting a picture, they're helping us understand who this person is and what they need in this moment and how we can invest in them. And there is someone on our end reading that, hearing this story, and entrusting the social worker and saying, I'm going to take money out of my pocket and I'm going to invest in this client of yours. Let them know that there was a person behind this that heard their story. And so I think that experience of removing the processes and being able to be quick, as 2 days, if it's been approved or not, sometimes even sooner, right?
And I think that it's element of not only removing the processes, but also removing Change Reaction of always being the person that's understood as the person that got the credit for who they're providing this value to, right? Like even within your own job. And the fact that Greg is this amazing, generous donor, he lets you go out and like be the face of like, hey, we're doing this giving. But then at the same time, you pass that same thing off to all these other advocates within communities, social workers, like the hospital staff, whatever it would be. And then that individual is looked at as that's the person who's providing the value.
And that's where, again, those relationships, knowing someone, like having that strong relationship with someone, it's going to mean so much more, right? When you've been working with a doctor or nurse for months now, and they come to you, say, hey, we're going to help you with this. Like you have that relationship. It just feels great. And I think for the social worker, like, and I know what this has felt like because I've been on that end of it, right? Of being the change agent, helping advocate for individuals, that feeling of calling someone to say, hey, we found a donor. Someone's going to help you with rent. Someone's going to take care of that auto bill that is preventing you from getting to work. Just the feeling of being able to lift the weight off people's shoulders and show them that there is kindness out there. There is someone that cares. Showing them, generosity at this level. I think it just reinstills hope in people.
Yeah.
I think with COVID and just where we're at in society, I feel like we just need to love on each other more. We need to support people more. And I think we're seeing that happen, like, governmentally, that like that's what we think is happening. But I think at the community level, it's going to happen by individuals showing up for one another, which is one of the reasons why we ask in our application, like, how would you pay it forward? Like, how can you pass along the kindness? Like, if you were to get this gift of your rent getting paid, is there someone in your community you can help? Maybe is there someone that you can take out the trash for? Maybe cook a meal for? Watch their kid for an hour while they go run errands, right? We can all do something, and it doesn't have to be as big of a gift, right? But it could be something small that can really, again, pass along that hope.
Mhm.
And that's what I love, that like that's what the change reaction is about. It's about creating this ecosystem of generosity, and even when you don't have a lot to give, like, just know you are worthy and you have something to give, and that is yourself, your knowledge, your love, your compassion.
Yeah. That's because it's so interesting because Wade is the president of Change Reaction, right?
Yes.
And while we were at Dr. Sharon's event, who we'll get into Dr. Sharon and how she even impacts my life, your life, our relationships life. But he said a very interesting thing at her last event, which is that there's 60,000 nonprofits in Los Angeles County.
A lot of nonprofits.
And the first thing that I've ever thought is the wildest thing about a nonprofit is that or anything that you believe is creating change in any community, there's less people there than you think. For example, when we were going down to the Watts Empowerment Center in Imperial Courts, a lot of people would assume, well, I need to call the person that runs the place because I want to see if they have availability for volunteers. What you're going to realize if you ever actually just walk into a place is that there's not enough volunteers every single day. Christmas, Thanksgiving, there's usually too many volunteers. So too many people, I think, go to that type of day and then go, oh, this place has already got it. They got it covered.
But that's like when the most amount of people show up.
Yeah. Go the Monday after Christmas. Go 2 months before Christmas and experience like what, it might be Thanksgiving, but like experience like what that feels like. Right. And so that's the biggest flaw, I think, that a lot of people that want to impact and be valuable within these spaces is. But then from that, another chaotic element is that the fact that a lot of these nonprofits don't interact with each other that much. They don't partner with each other. And I think the Change Reaction does a really good job of going, look, we are actually not the end all be all to be able to create this real change. We know that we need to partner with basically all the nonprofits because these people are closer to the ground. They're creating more impact than you would be able to. They're creating more connection than you'd be able to create.
Yeah.
But then through your funds, that impact can immediately be like injected.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's so many nonprofits, and there are organizations doing incredible work, truly like innovative, incredible work led by leaders that are just so passionate. And again, we are only able to do what we can do in partnership with them.
Right.
And so that partnership, and I think that goes for other nonprofits too, smaller ones too, like partner with each other, find someone that has a common value or serving the common population and work in unison, because you can have more impact that way. Which is why I'm, planning my South LA partner gathering, bringing all my partners in South LA together. And that's going to be my call to action to them.
Right.
I'm going to say, like, work together, like collaborate. I want you to take one person out to coffee on me. Because I've seen just those types of introductions and collaboration within my partners that are serving the same area have just been very fruitful. Like, people are applying for grants together, people are doing huge projects together, and they're supporting each other because they're all serving a common area, right? And they're all very passionate people, but also they're all our partners. So we
Yeah.
have this ability to kind of connect them and link them in a different way.
And it's definitely not the nonprofit's fault that that connection isn't made, because nonprofits are underfunded. They're doing the best they can every day. Usually the person that's running them is exhausted, overwhelmed, and in debt. But what was very interesting is, like, through our 1.5 year experience in Watts, how many times we would find these like unbelievable, like very impactful people within like a square mile of each other that have never met. And you're like, wait, what? How have you never met? And
Literally
it
within-
becomes obvious why they never met, because they're so invested in what they're doing and they have to stay so
And it might
like,
not be necessarily the same thing, but, and I think this has shown, you know, in some of the introductions I've made, when it came to 2 of my partners in South LA, they were literally a mile away from each other.
but superstars.
Each serving their own type of population, but just each rock stars.
Yeah.
And I made that introduction, and it was like, you know, stars were in the air. Like,
You're
they
meeting like a
become-
sibling almost in
Yeah,
that
it was
relationship.
like, wait, I know, I've heard of you, but I've never met you, and I've heard
Right.
of you and your organization, but I've never, like, I don't know you. And so just being able to create that space for them to get to know each other, and now they're like mentors. Like, one is mentoring the other, and like they're like best buds, and they hang out every week now, and they're applying for huge grants together. And it was like, thank you, like, you just, this introduction, what it's going to allow the impact to have in the community, right? Because of that collaboration.
Yeah, it's like 2 people that went to different schools in a small town, and they're like, "Do you know this person? Do you know?" They're like, "We work with that person every single day.
Yeah.
Yes, we love that
Yeah.
person." Blah blah blah. Do you go over there? It's like, yeah, I go to that coffee shop every day. Me too. And
But yeah,
it's so beautiful, and
Yeah.
that's, I think, such an important thing for anybody who's like in a nonprofit to also realize. It's the same thing that, like, if you're like maybe a struggling entrepreneur is thinking, well, while I'm at this networking event, that person doesn't want to meet me. They don't, I'm not valuable to that person, or blah blah blah. What ends up happening is everybody looks cute, looks successful, looks like they're making it happen, but we need each other.
Mhm.
And it's very valuable for whoever wants to do it. Reach out and go, "Hey, let's talk. I don't maybe even know what you do, but because we're in this same room, I think we need to have a conversation."
And I think also what people do is so layered, right? Like, there's each organization is doing a number of different things, right? And so, and only through really sitting down and talking to someone and understanding can you really find potential ways to collaborate. And so I think really being intentional and spending that time to like meet with someone and not being afraid to approach them and be like, hey, I'd love to follow up and have a coffee. Or like, let's grab some tea, whatever it is, you know, and just learn from each other, and then see if there is a way. And if not, maybe there's a reason that we've met, and it's because I might be sending someone your way and you might be sending someone my way. And even that sharing of resources, even if there isn't necessarily a way to collaborate, is that sharing of resources that can, you know, be valuable to people in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just doing more of that, I think, is just really powerful. So-
What's the next step for Change Reaction? You guys give away what, like $1.5 million a month? It's something crazy.
Yeah, like I would say about a little more than $1 million a month.
Okay.
The last year was 14 million.
So what's your next like initiative that you're striving towards that?
Yeah, again, for me, it's about, you know, I have my portfolio of partners, so just like really diving deeper with them and seeing what else can we do. And then, you know, one of the new things I'm working on this year is economic mobility. You know, as you know, our kind of bread and butter is emergency grants, right? But what's better than helping someone get an emergency grant is getting them to a financial space in life where they can afford their own emergencies.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? Because we're seeing inflation, we're seeing the cost of living go up, gas, all these costs are going up, but our income isn't. Right? Many people are living still paycheck to paycheck. You can have a bachelor's degree and be living paycheck to paycheck. You can have a decent job.
Most people do.
And be living paycheck to paycheck because
Right.
of rent in this state, and specifically LA is half your rent. So you're barely making it every month. And so what I'm hoping to do is really do a deep dive into which programs, initiatives, certifications, and degrees can really provide job placement and a pathway to really good employment. And how do we invest in more people to take that risk to invest in themselves, to take a chance on themselves, and to believe that they deserve that lifestyle. And maybe it's a certain course or program that they need to, take for a year
Mm-hmm.
to be able to achieve a better income, per hour, right? To be able to then save for an emergency, to be able to travel, to
Yeah.
be able to have financial freedom. And so I think other aside from just um the career aspect of it and like this training certification, I think it's also financial education and just knowing how to manage your money and
Yeah.
having that budget.
Well, that's what's I do really appreciate, and I think might be maybe the coolest thing that Change Reaction does is they support the people that support people,
Mm,
and filling up the cup of the individuals that are overflowing into
yes.
all
Oh,
of the other
it's
people.
my favorite thing to do is to take care of and to show gratitude to our change agents. But also, one of the initiatives I led this past year, was a School Heroes Emergency Fund. So we all know how tough educators have it and school staff. We saw them recently, striking and
Mm-hmm.
advocating for themselves to get better income. But I think to live in LA and to work in LA there's so many other challenges that occur. And again, I was just talking to a school that had, you know, all the staff were parking on the street and someone just came and like broke into all the cars. And it's like you're going to work and someone just breaks into your car and it's going to be extra like $600 to fix the windows. And it's like you're already spending money buying your school supplies,
Right.
right? Printing paper and assignments. Maybe you saw a kid that needed lunch and you bought them lunch, and you're constantly taking money out of your pocket to help the ones around you. Um, and we want to be there for them when they need that help. We want to be the ones picking into our pockets to help them in those moments, because if their cup is full, that has a direct impact on those kids that they're serving.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started the School Heroes Emergency Fund. We're at 37 schools. We started in Watts at Markham Middle School. And we're at 37 schools now. We've given out 800 grants. Over 800 staff have received a gift
Mm-hmm.
of some kind within a year. And we've distributed over $1 million.
Yeah. It's crazy to think that like the amount of burglary and robbery and just like these car smashings and all
Yeah.
these thefts, the individual doing that obviously looks at the car and goes, well, this person doesn't really need it as much as I do, or or just F this person because of what life's put me in, right? And so there's a reasonable reason why they believe that it's appropriate for them to do that. But that person doesn't realize they might be breaking into their child's teacher's car or a nonprofit that helps their friend or a person that they might even directly know. And it's just like we have to stop thinking that like everybody who's not us is not fighting the fight that they're fighting, and that they're on this thin line,
Mm-hmm.
and that it can't all fall away, and that like someone who has something like even a car when you don't is like less or more deserving of it or less deserving of it than you. And it's a chaotic thing. But now what I kind of want to back up to and think about, was there a time and place 10 years ago that you could ever imagine having the job that you currently have?
Oh, gosh.
Was there like a weird spot in your head that you just like thought that you would, or what?
Not at all. I mean, look, when it came to my career, I never really had a clear picture of like, oh, this is the exact thing I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to help people. I was driven by that. I was driven to go to get my master's by some of the challenges I saw and the lack of knowledge I had and how to address those challenges that I was seeing. So I constantly wanted to learn how to be able to improve my skills to help better serve others. And I was looking at what was in front of me. I was looking at what issues were in front of me and how I can help and support, right? Um, so I never imagined that this would be something. And it's so, I was just thinking about this word serendipitous. Serendipitous. Like the chances of something happening in a certain moment at the right time. And I feel like everything that's happened to me there was these different moments of maybe a little bit of luck, maybe a little bit of serendipity, a lot of preparation, and putting myself in those spaces and saying yes, yes, yes. And I think I just kept doing that. I didn't know what the end goal was going to be, but I knew I had this desire to help, and I wanted to look at what was around me and how I can create impact in front of me. And I think that just continuously led me to where I'm at now, right? Doing something I never even knew existed, right? Nothing I didn't even know that, being kind of in the philanthropy space would be where I would end up.
Yeah.
I knew it existed, but I always kind of saw myself as like boots on the ground, right? Because my top strength is winning others over. I like to be in front of people. I like to help people. I like to lead people. I like to educate, advocate, provide knowledge and resources and connect people, right? So I always envisioned that being like a boots on the ground kind of person. And just in Watts, boots on the ground every single day, just doing it.
Well, you got this job by being that.
By being that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just feel so thankful that Wade and Greg and Jody Perlman really gave me this opportunity, because really they're entrusting me with their resources to say, hey, how can you help us create the impact that you're seeing is the need, right? And to be given that opportunity to share resources with communities, I think is just so different than what I thought a nonprofit space that I would be in, right? Of always asking for money and, counting pennies, trying to be able to serve others, right? And to be in a space of abundance, and to then not only be in that space, but then to help others think in abundance and say that there is abundance for all. We don't need to fight each other for the same resource. There's enough resources for all of us.
Yeah.
And to be in that space is just such a, it's incredible. I mean, I feel thrill and excitement when I go to work. I was excited to go back to work, after being away off maternity leave. I was calling my colleagues, so what's going on? What's the new, what are we doing today? Who are we writing checks out to today? And they're like, we can't talk to you about this. I'm like, no, I need to know, because it's addicting. It's energy that you get from helping others and having to be able to do it on scale, the way every day we're impacting someone. Someone's getting a grant. Someone's getting taken care of. And then for us to be able to see the impact, to read the thank you notes that people send us. I got a video from Verbum Day, of students thanking us for the gift cards that we gave them and what those meant and how they paid it forward. And again, we're creating that ripple effect of kindness, right? We're inspiring people to then turn and help others by being generous. And it's just the coolest job ever. I don't see it as a job. I mean, I just wake up
it's a mission.
Excited. Yes, it feels like a purpose. This is my purpose. My purpose is to do this and to do it the best way I could, right? To find the people that need the help, to ensure that the donors are knowing what the situations are and how they can invest in people and opportunities to help people, and then creating that just relationship too, right? Between the donors and the people that are getting the impact of their giving and generosity. And how do you create this kind of community and network and process too, right? I think with the Change Reaction, what Greg and Jody and our team, Wade and Daphne, have done is really create this platform and process that's really seamless and quick. And I think we just want to be able to do more of that and to be able to ensure that we can bring in other affluent families, you know, that are like, whoa, this is a cool way of giving. Like, I rather give this way.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to inspire people to pick this up in their cities. That you can do this for, LA is a big city. It's really hard to create a lot of impact. I think we're doing a great job, but it's such a big city. I mean, there's like, what, 80,000 homeless people
Mm-hmm.
in the city. That's the same population as, New Mexico, Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's the same population. They have like 150 homeless people and 1,000 foster youth. Like,
Yeah, that's crazy to think about.
And to think that, like, whoa, we can take care of all the issues in that little town. Like, how, and we are doing that. We are working to expand to that city, to be able to run a pilot to see if we were to invest in this smaller community using this model and partner with schools, hospitals, nonprofits, and using this model, could we really create impact?
Mm-hmm.
What would the outcomes be? And I think that would give us the playbook to then inspire other affluent people in smaller towns to say, hey, look how direct giving can impact your
Right.
hometown. And
Yeah,
here's
you
the
don't have
playbook.
you don't need hundreds of millions of dollars to affect this thing.
Not if you're doing direct giving in this way,
Yeah.
which is already leveraging the resources that are out there, which is the nonprofits. They're already out there. They're already serving. It's just supercharging them,
Mm-hmm.
giving them more resources to actually be able to remove these barriers for people.
Yeah.
Because a financial emergency, a big bill, is a barrier in the way of someone's ability to move forward. And it can almost feel like overwhelming. And I think, many times it can snowball, right? Oh, like your car broke down. Next thing you know, you lose your job. Then you lose your house. Then it's like now you're homeless. And it's all because you couldn't ever fix your car.
Mm-hmm.
If we can prevent that.
Yeah. And now what I think is so cool about what you do is that you're impacting a lot of children living a life that you lived in a lot of ways, right? Like you speak of saying, I'm refugee to the Ivy League, like born in Baghdad, lived in Dearborn, Michigan for a second, grew up in Buena Park. There's a lot of kids that would share your lived experience right now that would maybe be like 10 years old and would go, well, this woman in front of me has got this because she's brilliant and beautiful and she made it happen, but that can't be me, right? Like that's impossible. Like growing up in Buena Park, I'm not meeting my grades. I could never go to Harvard, right? But you've broke down all of those barriers within your own life. Like, I guess what I'm trying to think about is, one, who are the people that inspired you to believe in yourself enough to make those decisions that were that? And then what allowed you in your own space, in your own mentality to say, I can actually like go to college. I can apply to a Harvard. Like, how do you think you got to that mentality to get to where you're at within the context of like now you're impacting the kids that you grew up as within those similar experiences?
Yeah, I think we all have self-doubt, not all of us, but I think, a majority of people have that.
Did you have self-doubt?
Oh, 100%. I constantly had self-doubt in myself and my abilities, and if I was smart enough, if I was good enough at things, can I afford to do this? Constantly thinking about the barriers. But I think what I did is I just kept showing up. I kept shooting my shot. You know what I mean? I kept just showing up. I kept saying yes. Yes, even if I didn't really know what I was getting myself
And
into.
did that start in high school, middle school? Like when do you feel like you said, I'm going to just keep on saying yes?
Definitely like middle school and high school. And again, I think a lot of that has to do with my experiences of going back to Iraq when I was 12 years old before middle school, and kind of seeing the contrast of the reality I was living in, and like what could have been if I would have stayed in Iraq, if my mom never helped us escape, right? And I think
Right.
seeing that and seeing the lack of opportunities and just the a very different livelihood that women had there, it just kind of like opened my eyes like to what I did have access to, the resources I have. And so I think that flipped a switch in like, oh, I have these opportunities here. Like, and and my mom played a huge role in just telling me that education was
Right.
key. Like, she's like, you have to go get your education. Now, did she know what that meant? No. She knew education. Did she know, okay, college was it? And oh, here's how you apply to college?
Hmm.
No. But what I did is I just took advantage of the resources that would teach me how to get to where I wanted. So
Hmm.
I was in AVID, which was like a program that helped first generation students go to college and apply to college. Um, so someone was there helping me apply to the different universities, helping
But yeah,
me.
you still have to like ask to be a part of it though. Even if
Yeah.
you hear that thing's available, it's you still have this weird thing, but that's not for me.
And
Not
that's
really. You know
and
what I
that's where
mean?
I just was. I think I was just in that mentality of like saying yes to things. And for me, it also was, like getting involved in student government. That was me just trying to get out of the house. It was me trying to be like, man, my mom doesn't let me go out. Like, the only thing she'll support is educational things. And so I think that
So you
is
always had to give her a pitch
I always had to
of
be like,
this is
oh, I have
why
to
I need
do
to go to
this
the
like for
dance.
school. I have to do this for student body government. Like, oh, I ran for president or vice president because I wanted to, you know, I wanted to get out of the house. And so I did all these things that I guess would look good to a college or a university an application fee, right?
Was it
Um,
intentionally to look good for an application fee, or
no,
was it to actually just get out
it
of the
was
house?
to get out of the house.
Gotcha. Okay.
I just wanted to get out of the house, and I was like, cool, like, yes, I want to do this. Oh, cool, I can go like talk to people, like, and hang out and go set up for prom, like, so yeah, sign me up, like, and I had to because it was a part of a class, and so I think like I just started saying yes to these opportunities to do school
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and I liked it. I enjoyed doing those things, and it also got me out the house, and so I kind of just like fell into.
So some of it wasn't overall intentional in the
I
same
mean,
way that
I
it
got
became.
most spirited in high school. I was not a cheerleader. My mom wouldn't let me wear those skirts.
Yeah.
But it was because I was just always showed up, basketball games. Hey, I have to go set up the pep rally. I just want to go to the basketball game just to get out of the house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so all those things did end up helping me in many ways. And when I got to college, um, when goodness, like I said, I wanted to get out of the house, so I went to UC Santa Barbara because I was like, oh, I get to live away and
Mm-hmm.
by the beach. So yes, sign me up. And even then, like I remember, like there was a meeting for the Democratic Process Party, and I didn't even know what any of this meant. Like I felt like I was just saying yes to things, and I didn't really fully comprehend the situation. I was just like, cool, like people are going there. I want to meet people. I want to like just be in front of people. They're like, hey, do you want to like run for something? I'm like, sure. Like, don't really know what I'm running for. um, it lost, but then the person who won got caught cheating. So then I got put into student body like council.
In college.
Yeah, in college.
Okay.
And gosh, that was awful. But it was an experience, and it did shape, me understanding about advocacy more and what
Yeah.
that looks like, and bureaucracy, and understanding how that all works
Yeah.
a little bit
I
more.
hated student government in
Yeah. Oh,
college.
I
think I got kicked out. They were just like, dude, we get that you don't care. Like,
yeah.
I thought it'd be more involved than it was.
Yeah.
And then the things that you bet people involve themselves really in, I go, oh, I don't care about
It was
this
like
at
too
all.
bureaucratic. It was like we should
Yeah.
approve the bills for all the other committees. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, no, I don't want to do this.
Mhm.
And then I think that did help me realize, like, okay, I like helping people, and that's not the way to do it. I want to do more like direct. And I actually know what's funny. After that experience, I started the Friends of Rachel Club, which was all about doing random acts of kindness and about creating a chain reaction of
Yeah.
kindness. So it's so funny that now I'm like,
The serendipity of it is crazy.
the serendipity of that I'm now at the change reaction. When I was like, all about, giving out free hugs and putting on like different volunteer
Hmm.
events and, just spreading love. Um, and it was, called it was about the chain reaction. And now I'm
It
like, yeah,
it
so I
is
know.
weird to think, but because like early in our relationship, um, one of the first people that you met probably outside of the guys that I worked with that were my best friends, um, was Dr. Sharon,
Mhm.
because I was helping out at this
After school program.
after school program that Dr. Sharon ran. I don't even know how I got involved in that, to be completely honest, but her and Vince ran this after school program. So I'd do that every Friday ish. And then they were having like a fundraising event. And I, through our conversations, I knew that you had all this empathy, that you cared about nonprofits and all this. So,
Yeah.
I was like this tech bro building this business. I'm like, I got to figure out a way that this girl can like me and know that like I care and all this stuff. So I'm like,
that was.
so then I knew that if I introduced you to Dr. Sharon and she proved to you that like she's a good friend of mine, then you'd be like, oh, he has like really great people around him.
Yeah.
And then COVID happens, blah blah blah. We once a month we would work at we would like serve breakfast at the downtown's women's center. They kicked us out, and then we spiral affected. The interesting thing about us ending up in Watts was, one, our desire to like care. It's also our pushback in the way that everyone's telling us to do this, and we're like, well, no, we're gonna stay outside. But if we're gonna stay outside, we're gonna figure out a way to be
Yeah.
like valuable in it. And then through that experience, Dr. Sharon ends up being the person that brings change reaction to the center. That she's like, you're looking for this girl. This is the girl that's supposed to be the person who runs.
It's funny because we brought Dr. Sharon into that space, and then she just, coordinated all these donors to come through. And that was how I met Wade. And he kind of talked to me and walked around with me. I talked to him about what I was doing. And that's when, he invited me to become a community change agent, where I got to start, using their proprietary platform, to be able to submit and advocate for people. And through that, they were like, oh, she's doing this. This is what she's up to.
The art of showing up is real. It's because then
Yep.
it's one, you have to show up not ill-willed, but if you show up with like a specific intention that has like a direct through line of hopefully being valuable to other people and creating change, it's unbelievable what like showing up with faith like truly does like provide for you in life. It's crazy. God shows the way.
Having faith in yourself is one of the hardest things, but it's one of the most important things. And like, I'm very big on like there's signs in front of you that are like guiding you a certain way. When I decided to go to Harvard, I wasn't like, oh, I want to go to Harvard. I was, planning to go to Boston to visit a friend of mine, and my sister was like, hey, you should go visit Harvard. Like, you should go get your master's. And I was like, no, me go to Harvard? Like, you're out of your mind. Like, that's not going to happen. And she's like, just look into it. So I started researching their programs, and I fell in love with the prevention science and practice program. I was like, is there other stuff around me that is similar? And I'm like researching and looking, and nothing really spoke to me the way this program did. And I was like, you know what? Let me just call them. Let me just see if, this one Saturday that I'm going to be there in October, if they're maybe available to meet with me, I can maybe, see if someone wants to chat with me there. And I emailed them, and they're like, hey, this happens to be our diversity recruitment event. It's like you can meet professors, students, and like get a tour of the campus. I'm like, what are the odds that like the few hours I'm available and in the area, like it happened to be this event. And
so you're not even trying to go to the school. You're just like kind of interested.
I was like, maybe,
Okay.
Like, it felt like very impossible for me. Again, I was like,
yeah. Why did you think that you even could go to that school at that time?
I mean, I did have my friend Franz, who had gotten accepted to Carnegie Mellon, and he was one of my really good friends, and he's just such a smart guy, and he was just kind of inspired me. He's like, also came from a very difficult background in the Philippines and immigrated here, and me and him have really bonded about some of our just past experiences and the challenges we've experienced, growing up in poverty in America. And, he's always shown me like that anything is possible.
Got it. So he's like, just, you can make these calls. These schools want you.
Yeah. And then he played a huge role in really helping me apply and like how to apply, how to like tailor my my personal statement. And so he played a big role. My sister was like, dude, do it. She planted the seed. And then Franz kind of helped water it a little bit.
Right.
But even, to be honest, I didn't apply right away because I was like, it's not for me. Like, how am I going to get up and move across the country and all these different things? And I remember talking to my friend Jennifer, and we were both living in Santa Barbara at the time. And, she was telling me about how she has a cousin, a aunt in Boston. She's like, yeah, my aunt, she just had a divorce and, she's been wanting me to like move out there. And she's like, she has a lot of space. She has a big house. And she now, one of her daughters went to college and now she has even more space. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like that you have available housing in Boston randomly. She's like, yeah, but like I've always wanted to go out there and like try it out. I was like, me too. I've thought about going to Harvard. And so I was like, okay, this is too good to be true. Like, I don't know if I'm ready yet. And then my friend Pan, who lives out in Boston, who I went to go visit.
Yeah.
I was chatting with him. He's like, you should totally apply. He's like, if you need to like move out here, like and work, my parents' restaurant. I was like, okay, so I have housing figured out and a job lined up to figure things out. And me and my friend want to move. Should move with me.
Yeah, like your best
like,
friend wants to move with you.
Like,
what are we talking about?
Like, what are we like? All the doors were opening
Come
up, and if
on.
I wasn't gonna walk through, I was gonna be a dumb butt for
Yeah.
it. And so I applied, and I actually decided to move out to Boston even before I got my acceptance letter. So 30 days before I was ready to move in April, I put in my 30-day, I put in a 30-day notice at my job because I wanted to give them a heads up, but, put in my 30-day notice at my apartment. And my mom was like, you don't even know if you've been accepted.
Yeah,
Like,
I cannot imagine your mom in that scenario right now, still to this day.
Yeah. And so 2 weeks before I was moving out, I get my acceptance letter. But
That's
I was
unbelievable.
willing to do it because, when I read about this program, the Prevention Science and Practice program, it just felt to me like this is what I want to know. This is what's going to help me have a deeper understanding of how to create impact. We studied, it was Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems model, but really what it was is like, how are people influenced and how do we help build resilience? How do you create programs that can balance out all the risk factors that maybe happen in someone's life, right? Like maybe growing up homeless or being a refugee, right? These experiences are going to happen in people's lives. We can't prevent them from happening. Now, can we create initiatives, programming, workshops, mentorship that can balance that out? Like I told you, I had mentors that shared knowledge with me, that helped me along the way, that I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for them. And so even though I had a lot of barriers of growing up poor, of like, on food stamps and Section 8 housing and, having that language barrier, so there's all these risk factors, but I had a very loving mom who created a stable home environment for me, who fed me and ensured there was a roof over my head and food in my stomach. I had her love and her encouragement. And so that outweighs those obstacles. And then you have, different people that came into my life that were like, you could do that.
Yeah.
You can achieve that. Here, let me show you how you do that. And
it's one of the biggest lies that people tell themselves and communities tell themselves that the world doesn't want them. You're a refugee from Iraq. The world doesn't want you. You put on your letter of admission, I'm a refugee from Iraq.
But Harvard wanted that.
No, exactly. They go, well, yes, we've been looking for you.
Yeah.
What are we
think
talking?
that, but then
So
they're like
all these things that like the media tries to persuade people with is they don't want you because of this, blah blah blah. All these like little outlying environments. They don't want you because they're you grew up impoverished. They don't want you because you grew up in this community. Because you have this identity.
And it's like, actually,
Stop
that's
it.
exactly what
They
they
go,
want.
dude, we have a job that's literally specifically for you. We just haven't been able to fill it because we haven't met you yet.
Yeah.
And there's so many times in the world that, like, I understand why people get to the position in life where they feel unwanted because of interactions they've had, because of vicious things that they've heard on the internet, because of horrible acts that happen continually within the world. But I truly believe, like, deep down in most people's hearts, one, love wins. That's why our nonprofit says it. But, like, at the same time, most people, most organizations are like, they do want you.
Yeah.
They do care about you. They, and all you have to do sometimes is ask.
You just
Like,
have to
hey,
ask.
would you be cool if I come to this job? Would you care if I go to your school? And they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
get into this
It's
place.
about showing up in the places you want to be and not asking if you can show up.
Mm-hmm.
It's about showing up and saying, how can I help?
Yeah.
And I always, as a career coach, I would always tell students, like you need to be volunteering, you need to be showing up, you need to be helping, you need to be, because all of those experiences, whether it was a good experience or bad, you're learning about yourself. You're learning about who you are and what you desire and what you love. And the more experiences that you have, the quicker you're going to get to finding that aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, oh, I love this. Whoa, I didn't even know this was out there, because you said yes and you showed up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, I mean, another person in our life, like Justin Mayo, that runs the Watts Empowerment Center, he's just a prime example of, like, showing up. And we showed up in his facility. I think, like, 3 days in, I'm like,
We have the keys.
I'm like, Ielaf, I almost called you Khaleesi. I'm like, Ielaf, he gave me the keys. Like, in the sense that he was just like, dude, if you're willing to show up every single day, which you've proven the last, like, 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
If you just keep on showing up, like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Justin and, like, Yang in that space are just unbelievable powerhouses that need more people to surround those spaces. And I know that there's thousands of other people like them, probably, sadly, even in LA County, millions in the world, that just need more people that care to walk into the spot and say, like, hey, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's a lot of people out there that feel unwanted, feel like they don't have enough,
Or
whether
feel
it's
that,
time, energy.
And I think there's also people that just don't have the capacity. And so just show up for your community, show up for your family, show up for
Right.
your children. If you don't have the capacity to serve others outside of your situation, that's okay too. But look at who's in front of you and show up for them.
Right.
And I think if we could even just do that, like, we can make the world a better place.
And then, like, God kind of shows up for you. Well, not kind of, totally shows up for you in those environments too. Because once you choose to put, like, that foot forward, there's so many little blessings that come along the way to say, oh, not only did you think you chose that path, but I actually chose this path for you. You were talking about, like, believing in yourself. And I think that, Tobias shared a quote, who's one of my best friends. He shared a quote, like, the last week, and he said, believe in the dreams that God put on your heart. And I believe that's what I think, what I heard when you were saying believe in yourself, which is, like, believe in, like, the thing that you have deep in you, that you're like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Because I do think that's something that God put on your heart.
Yeah.
It's like, own it, like, trust in it, develop it,
Yeah.
and then do the small step, which is, like, to walk into the business that maybe kind of knows, like, what you are trying to do, that is moving in the direction that you want to do, the nonprofit, doing the empathy that you want to do, whatever it is. It's like, just like that weird little thing that's in your heart. Just trust it. Because it does unbelievable things.
Yes, I do feel that in the times I've just shown up and I've said yes and I've been willing to help and give and support and take time to help someone, take time to, like, motivate someone, I do feel that God returns that to me 10 times.
You go on a journey. And then that journey changes too. Like, we've found, like, within our own relationship, our journey's changed multiple times in the last 5 years.
We're parents now.
We're parents
We
now.
have a whole baby
Mm-hmm.
that's 7 months
I
old.
think she's still sleeping.
I have it right
You
here.
got her. But that was perfect.
I love her. Oh my gosh, I love her so much. She just like motivates me to want to be like the best version of myself for her. And that I feel like does affect the work I want to do at Change Your Actions. I'm like, I want to be Cece's mom. Like, Cece's mom's got to be like on it, you know?
Isn't it just tragic that the world tells you, and I don't know what I even mean by the world, but whatever. But like don't have kids. Like, you know, I feel like almost women right now in society have more pressure on like find your job first before you have a child, like all these types of things. It's all I would say to anybody, you'll never have enough money at the time that you want to have a kid. You do need to find the right partner. Like,
That's
I think
the key.
like our blessing within our relationship
Because to
is
do like this with someone who sucks and like doesn't want to be there, doesn't want to show up the way you want them to show up, would be a nightmare.
That's a disaster. And because
It's a
like
nightmare.
Khaleesi is literally both of us. Thank God she looks more like you. But like you can see these little mannerisms and traits. And then our relationship forms her. Right? Like every time we go to the park, everybody goes like, this baby's like smiling. She's high.
She's chatty.
And we're like, well,
She's
we're
chatty.
smiling
She's
and
chatting
high.
with people.
Yeah.
She's talking to people.
She wants to know what's good.
She was like, what's
she wants
up?
to be outside.
She's like, you know, we saw like 3 other kids her age today
Mhm.
at the park. Did you see any of them that had any facial like expressions?
No, I mean they were like acting like their parents. We were chatting with some people at the park, trying to get some like.
We were trying to be friendly.
They were cool
We
though.
have to build
They
community.
seem sweet. We are the people that move first though, and that's okay. So I don't have any problem with people that don't.
Yeah.
Because like it's fun to be the individual that says, "Hey, I want to be your friend."
Yeah, I
and
told her
that-
about the library program. She was very like, I think she, you know, she
Yeah,
might show up. To
They could
that.
be our friends for a long time. We don't know. But again, all I say is like, the world says don't have kids. Have kids. It's worth it. It's dope.
It's just
Try
like,
to get married before you do.
I feel like,
We are not. We're
it
not going
makes
on our
you-
honeymoon until 2 years after.
but you know what? We're going on it,
We're-
and that's okay. We're going to Spain. Ibiza.
Our baby will be a year old. We go on our honeymoon. That'll
That's
be so
okay,
funny.
as long as we go.
Yeah. But what do you want to leave people with? It's not our last conversation. It doesn't have to be most
Yeah,
important
I
thing.
think just have faith in yourself, like believe that you deserve that happy life and that it's available to you when you show up and you say yes, and to, you know, show up for the people around you, because I feel like when you just show kindness and compassion to people, I feel like you get that support and love in return. And again, I think that can actually help you achieve whatever it is that you desire. But to know that you deserve what you desire, you deserve to live that life that you want, right? To wake up every single day, to love what you do, to feel excited about the work that you do, to find fulfillment is available to everyone. And so just know that, and just show up for yourself, say yes to yourself, and make things happen.
Yep. And if you ever meet a random white conservative at a gay bar
Bear night.
on Bear Night, he might actually like make really great kids with you one day.
And that's all, folks.
Over and out. God bless you all. Thank you so much. This is 30 and 30. The best guest I could ever possibly have.
I
My
love
beautiful
you.
wifey, Ielaf Stead. And we're just going to keep it rolling. Episode 4, getting this out just in time. And that's it. God bless you all.
Bye.
I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war.